Hello and welcome to Gerety Talks. My name is Lucia Ongay and I am the co-founder of the Gerety Awards. Just like the awards, this series will put in the spotlight some of the industry's true change makers within the aim to drive progress in the industry in a global scale. Today we have a very special guest coming from Turkey. It's Lize Karaboga. She is a managing partner at Ultra, an independent agency, and founding partner at Newton DCC, a dynamic creative consultancy company. She started her advertising career in JWT Istanbul as a media planner and buyer in 1992, and later moved to Publicis and Saatchi Istanbul. She has been in numerous national and international award juries, and she was one of the Gerety ambassadors for Turkey last year. And she is also the chairperson of Make-A-Wish in Turkey and was the president of the Advertising Foundation between 2017 and 2019. So welcome, Lize. Thanks
Thank
for joining
you.
us at this
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we will start straight with the questions. So you have a degree in business administration. How
That's
did you
right.
end up working in advertising? Was it something that you always wanted to do?
Well, this is interesting. When I knew that we were going to talk about it, I looked back a couple of decades, and what's interesting was when I was studying business administration, I had no idea whatsoever what I wanted to do. So I was going between marketing and maybe finance and maybe this and maybe that. I didn't have any idea about the professions, if I have to be honest about it. But I was working when I was at university. I went in and out of odd jobs to, make some pocket money, if you like. So one of the jobs was working at one of the free shop stores in the Istanbul airport. So I became a sales representative for Christian Dior.
Okay.
And one other job that I did was being a guide, a part-time guide. And what was I used to work with one of the big travel agencies in Istanbul, and this was an agency who also organized incentive things and also some fairs and conventions. And they would send me into jobs which were like, being a hostess at one of the fairs. And so this was like a one-day job and you would get paid over it. And obviously this was much easier than the free shop, which had a heavier schedule, and I couldn't have it work with the exams and everything in university. So one of the jobs that came my way was to work at the first Crystal Apple Ball in Istanbul. This ball, now it became a festival in Turkey. This was the creativity festival, not festival, the creativity competition of the advertising industry. So in Turkey, the first time the Advertisers Association decided to have a competition on creativity, they decided to have a big evening, black tie, and award the winners during that evening. This was black tie and dinner and everything. And I was a student and I worked as a hostess. So this was like in my third year or so in university. And it was the first time I was exposed to advertisers. And I was blown away. I hadn't seen so many different looking people, all gliding in with their tuxes, and the men were wearing earrings, and it was not so common in Turkey. And I was like, yes, I want to belong to this world. But then, and interestingly, I found somebody from JWT, and I went there and I scratched at the door and I scratched at the door, and they didn't take me. So I went off and did something completely different after university. I worked in footwear. And I was working on the export side of a very big manufacturer, an exporter in Turkey for about 2.5 years. I was always going abroad to the fairs and setting up the stuff and, preparing the collection with the stylist and so on. And then suddenly one of my friends got engaged. I mean, she went into advertising and she got engaged to an advertiser because obviously you can't see anybody else, and so because of the work hours. And I was invited to the ceremony, and again I was in a black tie environment with the advertisers. And I said, yes, yes, this. I started talking to these people, and then I said, well, these are interesting. And I was kind of, getting a little itchy at my first job, as you do after 2.5 years, mostly. And I said, well, I would love to have a try. And then this time JWT, because these people were mainly JWT people, and there was an opening, and I was invited to an interview. But this was a media position. Not that I knew anything about it, so I didn't know how to evaluate it. And they said I didn't know advertisers were the best sellers, so they sold me the position, telling me this is the future of advertising. And I said, okay, this is where I want to be. And so that's how I started, actually. This was in 1992, I think. And then it went on. It's like I got the bug after that.
And your LinkedIn profile says you are on a mission to connect data science, technology, creative thinking, and digital know-how to deliver high-performing data-driven projects with your team at Newton
Yeah.
BBC. What new technologies do you find most exciting to help you in your mission? And do you have any special ones that have captured your attention lately?
Well, it goes two ways for me. One, the answer to the direct question is at the core of Newton DDC, which is a company that I have founded with my two partners like almost 2 years ago. And the technology is based on the algorithms that make it possible to produce dynamic banners. So there are many different infrastructures and softwares that can be used. There are like at least 5 or 6 big ones in the world. It depends on, what the media agency or what the advertiser is working with. We are fluent in most of them as Newton. So what actually interests, and obviously, the more the and I believe that these softwares will develop because they will learn more and more along the way. So what interests me is to be able to customize, in a manner of speaking, the creative output, and be able to do it in such a way that it's not time consuming and it can be dynamically optimized along the campaign. So we have started doing this. Obviously, it was not easy to start this as an independent, that's why we said consultancy, because when I started discussing this idea with my partners some time ago, we asked ourselves this question, what is missing? What can we do that is bringing the creative, the media, the technology, and the strategy together? Because the media agencies have evolved. They do a lot of creative work and they do a lot of projects. And also the creative agencies have evolved, but they kind of lost touch with media in a way of speaking. With the specialization and fragmentation growing, especially you can see this very well reflected along the network agencies, which always try to come up with ideas to unite the talents and the power that they have in the network. We said, what can we do that is not done very much in our own market? And we came up with this idea to base our services on dynamic creativity, namely DCO. And there are places which can do it. There are places which are able, but this is not at the top of their agenda. So this is an opening. Maybe it's a niche opening, but we have managed to do work for some very big clients in this past year. And this has excited us in the way that we now know that it was a good step to take in this marketplace, and also there is room for growth. And we might even be considering, putting dynamic at the core and then maybe extending our services along this and maybe add some other products and services to it. So we are not a company which is producing technology, but we are using technology and we are adding strategic thinking and media knowledge and creative output to it, if you like. That's one way to look at it. So obviously, the way digital marketing is evolving and all of the technologies which are involved in this is very, very interesting to me because
And
of where I'm coming from, age wise. I'm not naturally fluent in this, so I became a student once more, and now I'm studying. I'm going into the Google classes, and I'm earning little certificates, which are making me very happy. It's like designed to make you happy, but I try to catch up. But obviously, my technical knowledge will never be as deep as my colleagues and my friends in Newton that are coming from media and coming from the data side of the business.
mm.
Well,
And are you working in any campaigns that you can tell us about?
well, we are working on many campaigns on both sides. On Ultra, we are working with um, some big and old brands. One of them is a yeast brand, but they also are preparing ready mixtures, some with yeast, some without yeast. So this is a very interesting brand for us because it's a household brand. The way I look at advertising is the type of brands that an agency has really shapes the way the agency develops because
Yes.
every brand teaches you something, and being so close to a household brand with a brand which is in their everyday life, if you like, is gives you different type of perspective. So Pakmaya is this big brand, and we're working on their yearly plans and campaigns. And also we work on the business to business side of Pakmaya, which is the industrial channels. And also Kelebek, which is a very widespread furniture retailer. I love retail. I have worked with many retail brands. It's one of the, I think, categories that kind of keeps you on your toes because you have to be agile and you have to be fluid, and it doesn't really award complacency, if you like. So Kelebek came to us with the request of refreshing the brand, relaunching them in a way of speaking. And obviously, this is a long journey. So every year we have a lot to do. But it's very rewarding working on such a brand, which has a good history and also has good potential to grow. These are the two top of mind things that I can think of. But obviously, there's a lot of everyday work in the agency. But for me, what makes a story interesting is when you can see clearly the opportunity of bringing added value to a thing that you're working with. This can be brand, this can be people that you work with. So that is why I talked about Pakmaya and Kelebek especially. And on Newton's side, it's very interesting. Obviously, the first thing we did was to realize what we don't know really about DCO. And so we learned a lot. The first project we did was with the Coca-Cola company.
Mm.
And it has been successful, but it taught us a lot along the way. And the second project we did was kind of a trial project for a very big e-commerce company in Turkey, Trendyol. That also is good, but since its trial is kind of more contained. And the third one we did with Reckitt Benckiser, it's still on the air. And now it's being optimized and will go into its second phase. So yes, I mean, it's really, we have some interesting work to do. So I'm quite happy about that.
You've been busy, I can see.
Yeah,
Which is
we've been
good.
busy. Yes, but we try not to drown Newton. It's like when a startup is in its first maybe fledgling years, if you like, one instinct is to go and get as many project and new business as you can. But I believe one needs to be careful in doing this, because bringing in too much can overflood.
Hmm.
In order to expand and to grow healthily, I would say we will try to do it gradually, not all of a sudden.
Okay. And which campaigns have you been most excited by in the last months, and why?
Well, it hasn't been a very good year for advertising in Turkey, but I can say last year the world is changing a lot, and I believe advertising, the art industry, is a good reflection of what's going on in the world, especially from a contextual framework. So brands have to be more and more in tune with what the world is saying, thinking, what the younger generations are saying. So for me, a brand which is not sensitive to any issues, a brand which does not have a purpose or a position or a strong and clear um, thought about something, is kind of it. They to me, they will become more vague and lose many ways of interacting with their consumers or the people that they want to keep close to their hearts. So I would say Nike. You Can't Stop Us campaign is, I think, is meaningful on many different layers. So it's not only the idea, it's also, you can have a very strong idea, and to have this kind of resonating in what the industry at large, like the industry of advertisers and also the marketers and the bigger sphere of big companies and marketers and advertisers to follow them, are discussing certain issues like the gender equality or this the sustainability issues and so on. So I believe a lot of responsibility falls to many of us, all of the big companies, all of the advertisers, all of the people who hold the power to create meaningful communication, which can truly make a difference. And it's not enough to find only the message or the thing to say. When the company goes the extra mile to make it beautiful,
Hmm.
bringing the best of the crafts, then it becomes advertising that is truly groundbreaking, or advertising that truly leaves a mark, and years go by and you still remember, advertising. For me, not always we can manage to do this because of certain daily needs and stuff, and not everything you can do can be a masterpiece maybe, but
Hmm.
um, one should never give up.
That's good. And you mentioned Turkish advertising. So, do you think there's something that makes Turkish advertising immediately recognizable, or something that defines it, or it's very particular to it?
I don't know if it's immediately recognizable. I'm too much on the inside to judge this. And when I, at Cannes and in other places, in festivals and juries, when I see work from other countries, obviously the geography and the local culture obviously kind of tailors the way the advertising looks, or how it speaks to the consumers. With Turkey, I'm not sure. I would say it would have a Mediterranean vibe,
Mm.
probably. And since humor is used a lot, maybe kind of an, an entertainment chip, if you like. The entertainment factor is important. Because advertising here is our people like to be entertained by advertising. It's not enough that it's only kind of informative.
Mm.
Uh, we tend to make these connections with brands that have, meaningful celebrities in their advertising, or tell stories with these, or stand out with the bigger productions and well thought out, maybe comedies or human truths, brands that make you really smile. or maybe chuckle a little, maybe laugh a lot. Maybe we don't like sad things in Turkey. We're not that type of nation. So heart wrenching things are not for us, but a little tug at the heart is okay.
And do you have an all-time favorite Turkish campaign?
Yes, I do. It's called the little boy, the water boy would be a exact translation. But this is a story of a little boy selling water on the street. So he starts with, the movie is black and white. It's done beautifully. The director unfortunately passed, but he was a huge talent, and he shot it in such a way that you would feel every step of the way how the boy is feeling. So he would sell a glass of water to these very grown up and very, well dressed men, bankers, if you like, because this is a commercial for a bank. And he would then open his palm to receive this one coin as payment of it, and then you would see it from above. So you would see his little palm open and he's looking upwards towards us. So this went on and went on, and when he had enough money, he went away and he bought some stools and he bought an umbrella, and this time the people started sitting and drinking their water, and he grew his business. And then the bank said, in our business, it's very important to serve. The better you serve, the more customers you have. And as Garanti Bank, we believe in bringing in every penny we make back to the banking business. So this was maybe one of the first times that brilliant storytelling was used in Turkey to actually convey the vision and the philosophy of a bank, a big corporate bank. So actually, this is a corporate story, but told through brilliant storytelling, through the story of a little boy. So and I think it was unchallengedly in the top of the top list in Turkey for many advertisers for years. Maybe now, you couldn't put it on air as it is, but I think the story still works.
Do you remember how long ago it was done, more or less?
It was done in 2000 and I think 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's still my all-time favorite. I mean, obviously there are very good work done each year in Turkey, but maybe this was groundbreaking in its own terms, because it did something that a very big industry and a big spending industry was not used to doing until then. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah, that's
And you were one of the ambassadors for the Gerety executive jury from Turkey last year. How was
yes.
the experience?
It was nice. I really loved it. Obviously being online is probably never the same. So that's the first thing I would say. But nevertheless, although we were online, I believe all of my colleagues in Turkey have contributed even more this time, because it was online, because nobody wanted it to feel lesser. And everybody tried to contribute and make the discussions lively and be there and be present and join the discussions, and in order to help with the sustainability of this organization and to grow it and to push it forward. So I love the initiative. From the very start, when Joe first introduced me to it, I said, yes, this is it. This is I'm usually quite skeptical about things which have I'm trying to bring focus to maybe having a slightly skewed position, if you like. But this time, since it is for a greater cause, and I really believe in this cause, I'm totally with it from the start till today. And it was nice seeing all of the ladies that were invited, or the jurors that were invited, to have a very open and honest discussion about, where we are and where we can go. Usually, people that sit around jury desks and maybe competing in a way at the same time. This time, the discussion was at a different level. So I believe the understanding of the framework of Gerety also helps the quality of the outcome. That's what I realized. It's not just another competition. That's how I see it.
Great. And among your many titles, you're also a chairperson for Make-A-Wish Foundation. What does the foundation do and what is your role there?
Do you have Make-A-Wish Foundation in? I know you have it in France, and it's quite big. I don't know if you
In Argentina?
maybe,
so.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
Yeah, Make-A-Wish is a wish granter. So it all started many years ago with a little child in the United States who was critically ill, and he wanted to become a police officer. So people around in that little town, they alerted the police station, and they decided to make him a little uniform, and he became a police officer, and he had this wonderful experience. And pictures were taken, films were taken, so the family had made wonderful memories. And so after the child passed, the people who were involved, including the parents, decided to start a foundation, which grew into becoming the Make-A-Wish International Foundation. So what it does, it works with critically ill children, and it grants them a wish, which is usually an experience, a big experience. And through this, it kind of energizes them, gives them hope, opens up a different world if the child is really ill. There are times when the children cannot really leave their rooms or the hospital rooms or the beds. And sometimes this is a life-changing experience. And a lot of the children get better, obviously, and it becomes a window in this child's life where most of his life is uh, consisting of treatments and going to the hospital and going to the doctor and doing this and not being able to do that, not being able to play, not being able to do that. And this is one thing, and it's a big journey that we design for the child and with the child. It's not just one day and he wants something or she wants something and we get it done. It's not like that. We want the child to look forward to the wish experience, and we design that journey, and then it happens. So it's like a window opening in this child's world, and it's like this child is able to do something else. And the first most important thing is that at that moment when the wish journey starts, this child is not an ill child anymore. It's not a child that the only vocabulary around it is about sickness. It's a child which is on a wish journey, an exciting wish journey. So it enables them to be just a kid,
Yeah.
just a kid. And that is something which is very precious. So they can ask to meet somebody, or they can ask to see somewhere. They can obviously ask to maybe have something. It's like maybe a computer. I want computers a lot. And they can, ask to become something like Spider-Man or Superman or I don't know, police officer.
How do you make that happen to become Spider-Man?
Yeah, well,
it's a little bit more challenging than becoming a policeman, right?
So what we do is, it can be done in a few different ways. One way is to ask the child what he wants and what's his dream wish. But sometimes the children are very little, and when they're very young, it's very difficult for them to articulate what they want. So another thing is, if this is a sponsored wish, if this is a company which is doing it, And if the company is kind of using this as an incentive exercise, they sit down and they work on a script,
Mm,
and
okay.
then they play out the script. So they, get all the costumes and do the stuff and so on. For instance, when I was the CEO of Saatchi, one of the wish children wanted to be a Formula One pilot. So what we did was we asked the Formula pist in Istanbul, and they said, "Okay, great," and they gave us a pilot, and we had a little costume made for our little man, and we brought people over to cheer. We had flags made, we had posters made. So he spun around the racing track, and then he became the champion, obviously. And we had this, the first place, the second place, and the third place boxes ready for him. So he went up to the first place, and everybody cheered him. So we organized all these people to go and cheer him there. And and we made this little cup that he could hold up in his hands. But the whole script was written by our people, and we kind of a lot of the agency people took part in playing these guys, or the people who were doing stuff at the racing track. So that kind of thing. Or once another kid wanted to be a princess, and we rented all the costumes. A palace was arranged in Istanbul, because we have many places that are like small palaces, and we arranged the car, and she had this princess dress, and we had the butlers and the footmen, and everybody. So this is what we do. And when I obviously, it's our 20th year, we have passed 20 years in Turkey. I got involved as the agency. My involvement started because they came to us and said, "Could you help us out?" And we said, "Okay, we will take you on as a pro bono client," and we worked with them.
Mm,
When we worked with them, I became friends with the chair then, and the vice chair, which became the chair after that. And I became really involved. The agency became really involved. We did the wishes and so on, as I said. And then a few years later, they came to me and said, "Would you come on the board? Because we want to kind of go into a restructuring of the board, and we want to become more corporate, and we're inviting people from the corporate world. So we have this and this and this, and would you also come?" I said, "Well, how am I going to do this? It needs time and so on." But I accepted. And after like 2 years on the board, or 4 years on the board, I became chair. And there's always a lot of things to do in a charity, but one of the things that actually started with the invitation that year, I believe I took the flag, and I continued this journey that was started into restructuring the foundation and bringing it to a more corporate professional level, more strong financially, in order to deliver more wishes. And we have grown the foundation from four times, four folds.
oh, nice.
Yeah, from when I took over, and we have developed with our wonderful team. We have a brilliant CEO, and she has developed many new revenue streams. So it's steadily growing, and I'm very happy.
Yes, I can imagine. You can make
Yes.
more wishes for more kids. That's
Yes,
great.
yes, yes, definitely, definitely, and it's priceless to see that joy in the child's face. It's undescribable.
Yeah, I can imagine. Super. And so, my last question, after a pandemic 2020 that was very much reflected into advertising and campaigns, of course, what do you expect to find in campaigns for 2021? What kind of stories or ideas would you like to see?
Well, maybe this is a good time for the brands to repurpose themselves, and I see many brands trying to do this, and to develop more authentic relations with people. I believe that when a lot of things had to come to a full stop, because of the pandemic, everything that we used to take for granted and everything that was the norm kind of changed. It went upside down. So a lot of things are being discussed. What are the relationships based on? Is it based on physical environments? Do we need these locations? Do we, yes, seeing your loved ones and hugging them is obviously wonderful, but it's not enough to just go out and shout out messages or promotions. I believe it becomes more important for brands to really tap into the consumer psyche and to really see what they are open to hear, what they need emotionally, what they can do to fulfill these needs, what they can do to change the relationships. I see in many of the brands still the talk is maybe not that, but still brands are struggling while the speech is being more customer oriented. It's a thing. It's in fashion. This is sexy. We need to be customer oriented. We need to be this, that. But the reality of it is a big change management most of the times, and it's not easy, obviously. But I believe these new circumstances will kind of give a stronger nudge to these changes.
Yeah, hopefully it will be like that.
And also, I believe one more thing I will add. I believe that this is also a good time for the brands to start thinking how they can be more useful on this planet Earth. It's not only about being commercial or bringing out very successful and very good products. Not anymore. It's not going to be enough. The world has, more shoe manufacturers and more apparel that the world needs, or the people that need it don't have them. But you know how it is in the world. So the resources that most of the companies, the bigger companies, have are important resources that, and they're also the way they're around the world, especially the global ones, enable them to do a lot of things everywhere. So some of them really do feel this responsibility, but I believe that the pioneers in this will lead the way of doing real and consistent and irreversible sustainability acts, which is crucial.
Well, thank you very much for your time and
you're more than welcome.
For your very nice insights, and hope you have a great year for you and your agency with lots of creative work.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.